The Ford Thunderbird defined the personal luxury car, but not all TBirds were created equal. Hidden within its history are rare engine codes, limited run specials, and one-off concepts that turned the boulevard cruiser into a muscle car or a mobile office. From the supercharged F-Code to the exclusive Neiman Marcus edition, here are 6 of the rarest and most unique Ford Thunderbirds ever built. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Nostalgia Rides for more legendary cars. 1960 Thunderbird F-Code. Final year of the 2-seat first-gen Thunderbird. 1957 brought sharper fins, a reworked rear deck that moved the spare back into the trunk, and more power options than ever. But the wildest box on the order sheet was the F-Code engine package. Under that long hood sat the Thunderbird Special 312 Y-Block V8, wearing a Macaulay Paxton VR57 centrifugal supercharger blowing through a press-sealed Holley 4-barrel carb with lower 8.5:1 compression heads, so the whole thing didn't turn into shrapnel the first time you floored it. Factory rating was 300 gross horsepower and about 340 pound-feet of torque, and period. Ford literature even listed a hotter 340 horsepower NASCAR tune. So this was no mere dress-up option. The F-Code program itself was born out of Ford's desire to homologate supercharged cars for NASCAR, spawning a handful of hardcore DFCOD Daytona Battlebird racers and roughly 200 road-going F-Birds. On the street, the blown turd backed up the hype. It put 0 to 60 in roughly under 8 seconds with a top speed brushing 125 to 130 miles per hour. Serious pace for a plush 50s boulevard cruiser with white walls and power seats. 1960 Thunderbird J-Code. In 1960, the Ford Thunderbird wasn't trying to out-corner a Corvette anymore. It was busy perfecting the idea of the personal luxury car. This was the final season for the second-generation squarebird Thunderbird. The larger 4-seat redesign Ford created after surveys showed buyers wanted glamour and comfort as much as sporty attitude. For 1960, Ford mostly polished the details. A fresh grille up front, and the now iconic triple-tail lamp lookout back. Sales hit a record 92,843 units for the year, including 11,860 convertibles. Proof that America was absolutely on board with the Thunderbird's dress sharp and cruise mission. Where the story gets really fun is the J-code part. On a 1960 Thunderbird's identification code, J signaled that the buyer had checked the box for the big 430 MEV8, first offered in the Thunderbird for 1959. In Thunderbird form, it was marketed as the Thunderbird 430 Special, and it turned the smooth cruiser into the stealthy bruiser of the squarebird lineup. The 430 was rated at 350 horsepower, and its big torque character made the car feel effortlessly strong rather than high revving because relatively few buyers sprang for the big engine upgrade. Period. Documentation. And modern write-ups often cite only 377. 1960 Thunderbirds. Factory equipped with the J-code 430, so a genuine example is rare before you even get to the convertible. Fun fact, near the end of 1960, Ford built 2 stainless steel-bodied Thunderbirds for Allegheny Loham to showcase stainless as a decorative material. Each one priced at $35,000. More like a science project budget than a window sticker numbered. 2002 Thunderbird Neiman Marcus. When Ford decided to resurrect the Thunderbird for the early 2000s, it didn't just reboot a nameplate. It rebooted the mood, 2 seats, a clean retro silhouette, and that I'm not in a hurry. I'm making an entrance attitude that made the original 1950s tiered such a scene stealer. The 11th generation Thunderbird was shaped under design chief J. Mays and arrived at a moment when nostalgia was suddenly cool again. But Ford still needed a way to turn buzz into instant legend. Enter the 2002 Thunderbird Neiman Marcus edition, a limited run offered through Neiman Marcus Famous Christmas book before most people had even seen a production Thunderbird in the wild. Orders opened on September 25, 2000, and all 200 cars were snapped up in just over 2 hours at a catalog. Price of $41,995, while it was marketed as a 2002 model. Deliveries didn't begin until late September, early October 2001, meaning some owners were enjoying their ultra-rare retro TBird, while regular production cars were only starting to trickle toward dealerships. Every Neon Marcus edition wore evening black paint paired with a black soft top and a removable hardtop finished in satin, silver metallic. Even the Thunderbird's signature round porthole window in the hardtop got special treatment. Reports from auctions and enthusiast documentation note an etched Thunderbird logo or wings emblem in the glass. Like a subtle autograph, you only notice when the light hits just right. 1967 Thunderbird Apollo. In 1967, the Thunderbirds stepped into a new era. Bigger, sharper-edged, and aimed squarely at the executive luxury crowd. Then, Ford and an unlikely partner decided to turn that idea into a showstopper. Abercrombie and Fitch, back when it was a high-end sporting goods outfitter with flagship stores in places like New York, Chicago, Miami, Palm Beach, and San Francisco, wanted something that would stop holiday shoppers cold. So it commissioned a tiny run of special Thunderbirds called the Apollo. Ford built 5 hard tops and then sent them to Dearborn steel tubing for the transformation. Each Apollo received an electric sunroof installed by literally cutting the roof for it, plus Lando-style trim with a vinyl roof, special bright work and badging, and a deep blue theme that carried straight into the cabin. It was loaded with executive toys. The conversion added blue leather upholstery, foldaway desks or tray-style tables built into the front seatbacks for rear passengers, extra reading lamps, and a reclining front passenger seat complete with a footrest and an adjustable headrest. Then came the headline items, a Philco television, and a radio telephone integrated into a custom console and supported by the sort of antennas that made the car look like it could call mission control. The cars were named Apollo, right in the middle of America's space race fever, and they looked like what 1967 imagined mobile technology would be long before anyone thought to put a touchscreen in the dash. Only 4 actually made it to their intended destinations, because the car headed for the San Francisco store was destroyed en route. The survivors did their window display duty for the holiday season and were then sold off around year's end for about $15,000, an eye-watering figure at the time and exactly the point. 1963 Thunderbird Sport Roadster M-Code. In 1963, the bullet-bird Thunderbird was taking its final bow, and Ford had already nailed the car's mission. Not a razor sports car, but a space-age personal luxury machine that looked fast, even while it was parked at the country club. The standard Thunderbird convertible was already plush and dramatic. Yet Ford still wanted a halo version that winked at the original 2-seat, 1955 to 1957 TBirds. So it offered the Sports Roadster a factory illusion that could make a 4-seater look like a sleek 2-place cruiser. The centerpiece was a removable fiberglass tonneau cover fitted over the rear seats. With it in place, the back seat disappeared under a smooth lid, and the car suddenly wore that classic Roadster attitude. Remove it and you got your rear seats back when real life showed up? The package also brought distinctive trim touches like special badging, a passenger-side dash grab bar, and the signature Kelsey Hayes wire wheels that gave the car instant curbside jewelry. It wasn't cheap either. By 1963, the Sports Roadster carried a formidable base price of $5,563, and that sticker shock helps explain why only 455 were produced for the model year. But the truly mythical version is the one with the M-Code because it turned this stylish showboat into a stealthy muscle luxury mashup. In simple terms, the M-Code swapped the regular 390s single 4-barrel setup for a high-performance 390 topped by 3 2-barrel Holley carburetors. Ford's own Tri-Power Vibe was rated at 340 horsepower and paired with the same cruise-o-matic automatic the Thunderbird crowd expected. Combine that scarce engine with an already low production model and you get the kind of numbers collectors repeat like a campfire story. Of those 455 sports roadsters, only 37 left the factory with the mode power plant. 1963. Thunderbird Italian. In the early 60s, Ford was riding a wave of enthusiasm for bold styling and custom culture, and it created the Italien as a centerpiece for its traveling custom caravan. Part rolling spectacle, part brand flex, that visited major dealers and big indoor shows across the country. Construction began with a brand new 1962 Thunderbird convertible shipped straight from the factory to Dearborn steel tubing. Ford's own styling team sketched a sleek fastback transformation, and DST under the direction of Vince Gardner, turned it into reality using fiberglass for the dramatic one-off roof and reshaping the body with newer 1963 front fenders and doors so it looked current for the tour. The whole thing was deliberately theatrical. A jewelry box mix of bright trim and special details. And a cabin treated like a boutique lounge with extensive leather and bespoke bright work that made the interior feel more like a concept jet than a showroom Thunderbird. Despite how often people call it a concept, the Italian was closer to a factory custom. It did its job so well that it popped up widely in period coverage and even made high-profile appearances like the Cavalcade of Custom cars tied to the 1964 New York World's Fair. Don't forget to share, and subscribe to Nostalgia Rides for more legendary cars, forgotten classics, and the real stories behind automotive history.